everyone. Very happy to be with you again. We're very happy that everyone in our Santa Cruz community is safe and well, and Chinmoy Prabhu is a testament to that. I'm here in London at the moment. We just had a very happy anniversary festival. It was the 6th year anniversary of Mahaprabhu's arriving here. And normally it's the biggest festival of the year. Okay, Chintamani is telling us, Madhavendra from San Diego. Okay, so he's your friend. Welcome, Madhavendra Prabhu. I think this is your
Hare Krishna.
This is your second time, right?
Yes.
Okay. But Ananga Manjari, come say hello. We have this is Ananga Manjari. Very auspicious girl. She's descended from a higher planet. She's gracing us here. She's been staying here in the temple for the last month and very eagerly participating in seva, in the programs and asking questions. She comes from a very cultured Bengali family. So it all comes very naturally, and she wants to move in and give her life to Krishna consciousness. Thank you for joining us, Madhavendra. Very happy to have you with us. So we just had very beautiful anniversary festival here on Saturday. As I said, it's normally the biggest gathering of the year, like usually 100 or 150 will come. Welcome, Karan, happy to have you with us. But because of the whole world situation, of course, there were restrictions on how many persons could gather. Of course, people are also kind of entering a mode of tuning in online rather than coming in person. So this is an interesting new kind of trend that we're going to see developing and kind of growing more and more. But anyway, we had the legal restriction was 30 people. And I think we had like 40 or 50, right, who came. So it was very full festival still. And we also had a big Zoom meeting. I think some of you attended that. Many of our acharyas and over 100 devotees around the world, they joined online. So it was a very, very happy and auspicious day. And I'm leaving tomorrow morning back to Italy. My main takeaway from this gathering was to see like persons like this young Ananga Manjari. She's only 12, but super inspired. And then a few other young devotees, Gadadhar, Saraswati's son, he's 15 and he's doing a lot of the puja here. And so it's really, I was reflecting on a comment that Yudamanyu Prabhu told me. Gurudev told him once that at one point, Srila Gurudev told him, he was preaching in China, right? And at one point, Gurudev told him, now if you leave China, it won't matter so much. Because now that Krishna consciousness has entered, it will not leave. It's going to take on its own life. It will continue. You did your part to like initiate it, and now the wave is going to continue regardless of whether you're there or not. So it's really inspiring to see that here, because sometimes we see things in a materialistic way. I think anyone who's been involved like in a day-to-day temple environment, you're like kind of like up close to all the like the near misses and the bills that almost don't get paid and the being super low on servitors and are we going to make it? You when you're really up close like that, you tend to be a bit on edge. Like I remember I commented to Sureshri a few years ago, everything just seems like it's running so smoothly here and everything's so happy. And she's like, you have no idea. Like we're always like hanging by a thread. We don't know if we're going to get by. And I had the same experience when I was serving in India. It was always like, high stress. Because you're in touch like with the moment by moment developments, and it's easy to lose perspective you know, that actually the Lord's hand is behind everything. And even if you were to leave, you know, like you start to feel sometimes like you're indispensable, but actually if you leave, immediately your place will be covered by somebody else. and it's, so when, you know, when we see things like this, and it's like a reminder, wow, it has its own life, and Krishna really is there. And that current, it's always moving. And there will always be souls who will come forward, inspired to connect with that. So that's been very inspiring. Tomorrow is Lalita Saptami. The day after is Radhashtami. So very, very auspicious time where I think we're kind of moving towards the end of this, like middle end of this holy month of Hari Smaran, very concentrated, what was celebrated in our mat as the month of Hari Smaran, because it's such a concentrated period of festivals, wonderful opportunity to remember the glories, the pastimes of so many, you know, great souls, you know, the Baladev's appearance day, Rupa Goswami's disappearance day, Julan Yatra. Now we have Lalita Saptami, Radhashtami, Janmashtami, Jiva Goswami's day, Vamana Dev, Visharup, and I'm sure I'm missing some others. So it's a really wonderful opportunity for us to remember their glories more and to draw more grace from them and to enrich ourselves by that remembrance. And Lalita Saptami, we've heard that it was Gurudev's favorite day. You know, Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi, she said that Srila Gurudev, our Gurudev Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami, she had expressed that he said it is a, you know, like in one sense, Radhashtami is like a principal day for us, because Srimati Radharani, she is ultimately the head of our line, ultimately the, you know, the service of our Guru Varga. It is going towards Radhadasyam, towards the divine service of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. But then Gurudev commented that Lalita Devi, there are also, everywhere there's different channels and different groups. And so also in that category of Radha Dasyam, so to speak, there are different channels. But Lalita, the Lalita Saki, you know, she has a, you know, she represents one specific channel. And that is that more specifically represents where our gurus have you know, made their focal point. So Gurudev, we heard from Bhakti Lalita, Gurudev commented that Lalita Saptami is a more exclusive day, you know, because she represents the supreme servitor of Srimati Radharani, and that is the channel in which our gurus are trying to take us. You know? And Gurudev, he, you know, we've heard that, I think most of us here, we've heard of that occasion when Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he took, Srila Sridhar Maharaj personally took Srila Gurudev on the Brajamandal Prikrama when he was just 17 years old. And over some period of time, I think it was a couple of weeks, something like what touched your heart. Oh, sorry, what? Everything.
You froze for a second. Your video froze for a second.
Oh, okay.
It was freezing in ecstasy, probably.
It's probably the British monsoon that it's been raining very heavily. So we've heard that famous occasion. Srila Sridhar Maharaj personally took our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, and the Vrindavan Parikrama. And at the completion of that, he asked our Gurudev, what was your favorite place? And our Gurudev, he said the place of Lalita Devi, Ucha Gaon, that he had a very transcendental experience there. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he was impressed by that answer. And it also, it's reminiscent of Srila Saraswati Thakur. Is called Ruchi Pariksha, examining the taste. So Saraswati Thakur, he had done the same thing. He asked some of his disciples at one time, what is your favorite place? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj had responded, the place of Kadam Kandi, which was a favorite place of Srila Rupa Goswami. And in regards to that, I can share one very wonderful comment I just heard. As time goes by, we're still, it's kind of like a mining process. Like there's still these amazing things that are being unearthed, that we didn't hear, that Gurudev, expressed or did. And just, I think it was just last week or 10 days ago or something, I was speaking to Isha Bandhu Prabhu in Australia, and he said that I think it was Muralidhar Prabhu, who had shared something which he'd never shared before. On one occasion when Srila Gurudev was in Australia, he was sitting out on his veranda area, and he said, Ashram Maharaj, Janardhan Maharaj, they're trying to take me out. They're taking me around the world for preaching, and I have to do this service as an acharya. I have to be this guru. And then he said, but that's not really what I want. He said, what I would really like is to go and stay with Guru Maharaj in Kadam Kandi. Never heard that before, Would like to stay with Guru Maharaj in Kadam Kandi. That was Gurudev's inner desire. We've also heard how he expressed he wanted to stay in Govardhan. So anyhow, Gurudev, he felt this very deep affinity for the place of Lalita Saki. And this is very profound because, we see some parallels there. Lalita Devi, she is renowned for her very intense and exclusive service mood. And Srila Gurudev would always chant this famous verse of Rupa Goswami, the Lalitashtami. And actually we have, I'm not sure how it came about. It seems like it was quite spontaneous. There's this recording, a very poor quality recording. We're going to publish it tomorrow, of Gurudev sitting in Navadvip. And as I recall, he was just talking about different service things going on in the mosque. And then in the middle, he was inspired to chant the Lalitashtami. And when you hear him, he recites the whole, the whole composition, 9 verses. Ashtak is 8, but then there's a concluding verse as well. So he recites these 9 verses, and his voice when he's chanting these verses, he's in this ecstatic mood, when Gurudev's giving a public talk, he has a particular persona, right? And then there are those moments when he's just privately sitting alone and relishing something. But when you hear that recording, it's you feel you're looking through a peephole, and he's just ecstatically relishing and his tongue is rolling the sounds and very beautiful. We'll share that tomorrow. But the very first verse, the verses are quite high, some of them, but the very first verse is very very well known and very, very, you know, it's okay for us to to think about that verse. Some of them it's not okay, but that one it's okay. Radha Mukunda Parasambhava Garma Bindu Nirmanchano Vakarne Krita Deha Laksham Tunga Sohrida Vishesha Vasapragalbam Devim Gunai Sulalitam Lalitam Mamami. I think I might be missing a line. But anyhow, you are all familiar with that verse, you know, describing how when Radha, Mukunda, Radha, Krishna, they are in their play together, and if one drop of perspiration comes, if they exert themselves in any small way, and as a result, a drop of perspiration comes, then Lalita Devi, she's furiously chastising herself, you know, and Deho Laksham, she's ready to take on 100,000 bodies, you know, with that type of eagerness, she's coming to remove that, you know, to remove that disturbance, you know, such intense eagerness for the service of Shri Radha Krishna. She represents, Gurudev, he made some comment like, we know 100%, but Lalita Devi, she is 200%. He made some comment like that. And she's also, she is known for being, she's, you know, Gurudev referred to her as the chief guardian servitor. And so her position is so supreme that she can even chastise Srimati Radharani on occasion, chastise Krishna on occasion. You know, this word pragalbha means like this haughtiness. She has this haughtiness about her. And actually, Chinmoy Prabhu, you were mentioning a few weeks ago that example given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where that servitor is saying, you know, move out of the way, you know, I have to do my service, move out of the way, Baladev, move out of the way, Satyabhama, Rukmini, I need to do my service. You know, and Gurudev, on one occasion, he mentioned like Lalita Devi, like this is her mood, you know. Out of her intent, and it's also mentioned that verse is boldness, you know, this haughtiness and this boldness. But it's out of this. But then, like, what is that? You know, is that coming out of you know, an ego? Is that coming from a place of self-assertion? No, it is the opposite. It is out of an assertion of the service needs of her divine masters. You know, she's. You know, how are you qualified to have that level of boldness in your service when you're ready to you know, give up your body 100,000 times over, like that level of self-giving and self-sacrifice. So she represents the zenith point of that, you know, and because of that intensity of self-sacrifice, then she's in a position to direct even them, you know, as a result of her intense affection and desire to please them. And it's also mentioned that she is a little more partial to Radharani. It's mentioned some of the gopis, they are more partial to Krishna, some to Radha, and some are more neutral. And Lalita, she's leaning more to the side of Srimati Radharani and promoting her cause, and it Gurudev
Frozen for just a bit, hopefully.
Oh, did I cut out? Did we cut out again?
Yeah, a little frozen.
Are we connected? They're definitely connected to the right internet. Right?
Yes.
One, huh?
Yeah.
It's Wi-Fi. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we okay again?
Very good.
Yes, Vishakha.
Okay. But Srila Gurudev, he mentioned about Mahaprabhu, you know, because it is mentioned sometimes that that, you know, there are different types of initiation, right? And so it is mentioned that if someone wants to have entrance into the Madhura Rasa group of Krishna, then they have to take shelter of the Sakis. There's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that's sometimes quoted in this regard, that you cannot have entrance without taking shelter of one of the Sakis. You know, and this is one reason why it is said even Lakshmi Devi, you know, she cannot have entrance, you know, because she did not go in that line, you know, whereas it is mentioned even the Dandakaranya rishis, you know, because they went in that line, they took shelter of the gopis, then they could have entrance. But anyhow, this is mentioned, you know, that one can only enter if they take shelter of one of the Sakis. And so it is mentioned that Mahaprabhu, he, in that sense, he took shelter from Ramananda, Ramananda Rai, who is Vishakha Saki in Krishna Lila. And Gurudev said that the reason for that is because Vishakha, she's a little more neutral in her relationship to Radha Krishna. So Mahaprabhu felt, you know, in the mood of Krishna, he felt it was like a little safer to go in that direction rather than because you know, he like there's this Ramananda Sambad extensive discussion in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Mahaprabhu's inquiring from Ramananda Rai, putting Ramananda Rai like in the guru position and inquiring about all these higher topics. So why did he choose Ramananda rather than Srup Damodar, who is Lalita Saki? You know, Gurudev made this comment because Vishakha, she is more neutral, whereas Lalita, she is much more partial to the side of Srimati Radharani. And this, you know, very high topics. It is also mentioned about Lalita that she, and is in that Ashtakam of Rupa Goswami, it's also mentioned in one of those verses that she's going out on the streets and canvassing for the cause of Radharani. And that, I mean, this is like, when you hear this, it like just blows your mind, you know, and it you know, reinforces how Krishna consciousness is always dynamic and always progressive, always living and moving. And so even there in Vrindavan, you know, there's room for progressive development. And so Lalita's like on the streets of Vrindavan, canvassing for the cause of Radharani. And then sometimes, as mentioned, sometimes she's approaching people and asking them, do you want to like sign up? Do you want to join? And other occasions, people are approaching her, you know, please, will you enlist me? You know, please include me in your group. and you know, it is sometimes commented how you know, we can see some parallel here in the mood of Lalita Devi, and we see that more clearly actually in Srup Damodar, in Lalita Devi's appearance in Gaura Lila as Srup Damodar, because you know, Krishna Lila is not so accessible to us, and we're not hearing so many details, and we're not encouraged to seek out too many details either. But Gaura Lila, it is safer for us, and we are given more details there. So we hear more about the nature of Lalita Devi through, you know, her expression as Srup Damodar, and we see there in we hear in Chaitanya Charitamrita how, you know, Srup Damodar's role is so, you know, so so central. You know, Mahaprabhu, he won't look at anything unless Sri Damodar looks at it first. You know, and it's mentioned that nobody. It's mentioned at the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita that nobody can know the true nature of Mahaprabhu unless they were told by Sri Damodar. And sometimes Sri Damodar is described as the second form of Mahaprabhu's Dvitiya Vigraha. And there are other expressions. He knows the heart of Mahaprabhu, better sometimes than Mahaprabhu himself. And when Mahaprabhu is in particular moods, then Sri Damodar is the one who Sri Damodar is the one who knows, what will relieve him, what will infuse him. Hello, welcome. Sri Damodar is the one who knows exactly what is needed, what song to sing, what verse to chant, how to calm him or revive him. Sri Damodar is the one who knows all of these things. So his position is so important. We see when Raghunath Das Goswami, after so much trial and tribulation, he finally makes it to the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu and Puri. And Mahaprabhu, what does Mahaprabhu do? He hands him over to Sri Damodar. and Sri Damodar, Raghunath, he really takes that to heart and so closely takes shelter of Sri Damodar. And actually, we have Chaitanya Charitamrita because of Sri Damodar. Like literally everything that we know about Mahaprabhu, it's come because of Sri Damodar. Sri Damodar, he revealed, these esoteric truths to Raghunath, and Raghunath, he extended that to Kaviraj Goswami, who took shelter of Raghunath, and he also had some notebooks. So it's all, Chaitanya Charitamrita has come from Sri Damodar, actually. So at that time, Mahaprabhu put Raghunath Das Goswami in the care of Sri Damodar, and Raghunath took that to heart very deeply, to the extent that Raghunath became known as Swarupera Raghu, the Raghu who belongs to Sarup Damodar, that Sarup's Raghu, because there were different Raghus. There was Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, there was Raghunandan Thakur, and maybe one or two others. So they were distinguished in different ways. And so Raghunath Das Goswami became known as the Raghu who belongs to Sarup Damodar. But still, a part of, so Raghunath was very happy about this, but there was still a part of him which felt a little dissatisfied, because he felt, I came all the way here and I was hoping to have some direct connection with Mahaprabhu, or at least some personal instruction. But he's given me to Raghunath, to Sarup Damodar. And of course that's wonderful, but still, there was a part of him still hankering for some direct personal exchange and instruction. And so I believe it was Sarup Damodar who represented that to Mahaprabhu, because Raghunath was always very, very shy. So this was conveyed to Mahaprabhu, and then so Mahaprabhu called Raghunath and told him, the fact that I've put you in the care of Sarup Damodar, that doesn't mean I'm giving you something less. Actually, Sarup Damodar, he knows better than me. He knows better than me. I'm giving you to the best. And it's not known exactly when, but it's said either the same day, like later that day, like he couldn't stay, like after a few hours of searching, after Mahaprabhu disappeared, then he left, or it was the next day, you know, but it was like very, very quickly after Mahaprabhu left. You know, Ramananda Rai, he stayed longer, and he became, you know, he helped to care for the group of Vaishnavas, and to kind of like, you know, created some security and stability. But Sri Damodar could not tolerate, he could not bear to be away for any period of time from Mahaprabhu. There's also a very beautiful description of their meeting. You know, Mahaprabhu, Sri Damodar, they knew each other previously. I think Sri Damodar was from Navadvip, right? I can't remember. Maybe someone else can remember better. But they knew each other well before. But then there was a period of separation when Mahaprabhu left Navadvip to take sannyas. You know, he left very suddenly, right? So there was some period of separation. I can't remember actually what their relationship was before. Maybe they didn't meet. But anyhow, but there's a very beautiful meeting described. I think they did know each other. It was maybe under a different, he had a different name. I think they did know each other. And so when Sri Damodar heard that Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas, then he rushed to Varanasi, and with the intention of also taking sannyas. However, he was in so much ecstasy that he wasn't able to go through the full ceremony of sannyas. And so he actually retained a brahmachari name. So it was, yeah, it was like a half ceremony that took place. And then he went rushing. He was in this like agitation and separation from Mahaprabhu. And then he went rushing to Puri, and he met with Mahaprabhu there. And then he, very beautiful description. And there's a beautiful verse that he chanted in glorification of the mercy of Mahaprabhu. Kind of like a similar structure to the first verse of Shikshashtakam, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, like describing the Cheto Darpana verse is describing the different stages of purification of the holy name. And this Halo Duni Takedeya Vishadaya verse of Sri Damodar, it's like describing the different stages of receiving the mercy, for one who's received the mercy of Mahaprabhu. And there's this very nice expression in that verse, Amando Doya Doya, which Saraswati Thakur he gave some emphasis on. This expression is very nice. Amando Doya Doya means non-evil producing mercy. Because, you know, we can all appreciate the idea of mercy and you know, doing good for others. But generally speaking, in this world, you know, even what is done with good intention, it has some negative results, or it has some reaction. There's some negative consequence that will accompany it. So it's, you know, pure goodness in the worldly plane is actually not possible. So the verse concludes with this expression, glorify Mahaprabhu's mercy, which has no bad results. You know, there's no negative consequence. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gives a beautiful description of this verse in one of the sermons, and he says, and you know how beautifully poetic Srila Sridhar Maharaj is in his descriptions of things, and so he describes how Sri Damodar fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu with this verse upon his lips. With this verse upon his lips. And then they embrace in ecstasy, and Mahaprabhu, he gives this beautiful glorification of Sri Damodar, saying, I feel like I was blind, and now I've gotten my sight, you know, like you are my eyes. To Sri Damodar, you are like my two eyes, and without you in my company, I cannot see properly. So what I was going to say before is that, you know, sometimes it's commented how we see some parallel here in the relationship between Srup Damodar and Mahaprabhu, with our Gurudev and his mood towards Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and how perfectly he served Srila Sridhar Maharaj, with this like with the mood of a guard also, you know, in the same way that Srup Damodar would not allow any disturbance to go to Mahaprabhu. And the famous example of that is that poem that somebody composed for Mahaprabhu. But they first had to check it with Srup Damodar, and Srup Damodar explained how this is not appropriate. And then he also adjusted it with another angle of vision, how it could be okay. But anyhow, nothing could go to Mahaprabhu without first going through Srup Damodar. And so our Gurudev, he had that kind of mood, and it is described how, you know, Gurudev made some expressions like this, how, you know, Guru Maharaj, he can stay in his upper layer, you know, and I will take care of all the disturbance in this lower plane, and I will not allow one drop of disturbance to go in that higher plane. You know, Guru Maharaj, he's absorbed in his, you know, divine transcendental percolations. He's composing divine literature, Prema Dhamma Deva Stotram, and so on and so forth. And you know, I will not allow any disturbance to, I will not allow anything to disturb him in that upper plane. You know, Gurudev had this, you know, like fierceness about him and his mood of protection towards Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I was hearing one of the videos actually that Chinmoy Prabhu uploaded maybe a month or two ago. I listened to it, and Gurudev was saying how he was describing one of his own disciples and saying how, I'm a little uncomfortable having this disciple, like I know he's ready to kill for me, and that makes me very uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to have this kind of fanatic disciple. Like, my disciples, they should see my good and my bad and come to their own conclusion about things. I don't like this kind of like blind this blind adherence. And then he mentioned another devotee. He was talking about Risabdi, and then he mentioned another devotee in Calcutta, and he said, I thought he was a very like gentle person, you know, like very, very sober person. And then one day he mentioned to me, if anybody does anything against you, I will cut their neck, or something like that. And Gurudev was like, I'm very uncomfortable with this. I don't want this type of fanatic follower. And then he said, but I was also like that. I was also like that with my Guru Maharaj. If anybody will disturb my Guru Maharaj, you know. And he told of one story actually, where I don't remember the details who it was, but somebody did or said something that was inimical to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And Gurudev was ready to go out to kill this person. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj had to stop him. You know, and it also shows us how strong Srila Sridhar Maharaj was. You know, he gave Gurudev this very firm embrace, you know, and did not allow him, and waited for Gurudev to calm down. So what more can we say? Lalita Saptami tomorrow. We are and we saw some living representation. You know, that is our inconceivable fortune. and you know, that is our line, you know, and Gurudev, you know, he mentioned like that, you know, this line of of Lalita. There's a I was also going to mention in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's an incident in the Gundicha Marjan Leela when the cleaning is going on of the Gundicha temple, and then there's at one point one devotee who sneakily comes and washes Mahaprabhu's feet and takes his foot water or something like that, and Mahaprabhu is ostensibly very upset because he's there in the mood of a devotee cleaning the Lord's temple, and he can't tolerate that someone is coming to offer some type of worship to him. And so Mahaprabhu, he tells Sri Damodar, you're Gaudiya. And so the word Gaudiya, it's understood in different ways, and on one level it refers to anyone from this particular area of Bengal, right? Gauda Desh, what we know as Bengal. So a Gaudiya can mean someone from that area, like a Bengali person, Bengali Vaishnav. And then another level of meaning of Gaudiya is someone who follows Mahaprabhu, right? But then Saraswati Thakur has a very wonderful purport that he's drawn from this exchange, that because Mahaprabhu said, you are Gaudiya, Tomar Gaudiya to Sri Damodar, then this indicates that we are all followers of Lalita Devi. You know, we are all in the line of Lalita Devi, you know, and that this is the, this is the particular camp, you know, that we are aspiring for, you know, amongst the servitors of Srimati Radharani. And he also explains there that, Vaishnava, strictly speaking, means a devotee of Vishnu, right? And then Karshna refers to a devotee of Krishna. And then Gaudiya refers to a devotee of Radharani, and in the line of Lalita. So, this is and Gurudev, he made different comments, that if we can stay in Guru Maharaj's line, then we will get the service of Sri Rupa, in the camp of Lalita Saki. So we are, these things, they are very far away from us at present. Puja Laragapat Gaurava Bange. We are doing puja to these higher things in a posture of respect and reverence, and we are staying within our plane. Matala Harijana Kirtana Range. We are giving our focus to the kirtan of Mahaprabhu, and that is our entry. That is how we may have entrance one day. Yata yata gor padar vinde vindeta bhaktim krita punya dasi tatata totsarpita ridya kasmad adha parambuja sudambudasi. This famous verse of Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, that as much as we can give ourselves to the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu, to that extent, we will experience that nectar of the service of Srimati Radharani, that divine current. Okay, well, I think that's all that comes to mind right now. How are we doing for time? Does anyone have any comment or question, or can you show me again? I just can't do this scrolling thing here. Okay, we have Chaitanya Mai Didi with us also, Dandavat from Rome. We have Seamus and Vijay from Ireland here, Dandavat.
Chaitanya Moy was asking that name you gave of the devotees, Krishna, Karshan, what was that?
Karshna. Karshna, like if we're like speaking technically, like Vaishnava, it is derived from Vishnu and it means a follower of Vishnu. And Harish is also here from Idaho. Well, welcome Harish, very happy to have you with us. So Vaishnava, it is derived from Vishnu. So it means follower of Vishnu. You know, we use the word very broadly to refer to, like in a broad sense, amongst persons following the Vedic lines of thought. You know, we use the word Vaishnava broadly to refer to anyone who believes in Bhagavan as being the highest ideal of the absolute, the highest expression of the absolute, right, amongst Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahma. And we use it kind of loosely to refer to devotees in general. And also Angela has joined us. Welcome, Angela. There's Vijay. So, you know, we use it kind of like loosely to refer to Vaishnava, you know, as a devotee of Krishna. And of course, ultimately, Krishna, Vishnu, they are one, right? So, but, you know, we're using it kind of loosely, you know, like in the same way, actually, devotee, you know, we use the word devotee. It's like, it's idiomatic usage, actually. Like a devotee can really refer to anyone. Someone can be a devotee of anything, really, right? You can be a devotee of you know, chocolate or a football star or, you know, or whatever it may be. That we've like made that our word and we use it, but it can be used in different contexts. So also Vaishnava, it's a broad word really, and it can be used. Okay, well, thanks for joining us, Harish. Hope to have you again. So yeah, so Vaishnava also, it can, you know, can refer to Ramanuja Charya group, can refer to Madhva Charya group, you know, and then they have different conceptions, right? Karen is asking, what mood should we pray to Lalita Devi? Okay, we'll get to that. And then so Karshna is it like, that's like, if we're being technical, we will say we are more technical, we'll say Karshnas, because Karshna derived from Krishna, as Vaishnava is derived from Vishnu. And a Karshna means one who is a worshipper of Krishna. And then this comment of Saraswati Thakur, you know, it is like a particular angle, particular slant on this, you know. That a real Gaudiya means, okay, Chinmay has it, a real Gaudiya is someone in the group of Lalita because of this comment of Mahaprabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
So we supposed to be aspiring Rupanuga, so how that fit in? Because we go through Rupa Goswami to Lalita, or how? Because I heard like when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was passing away, so he have Guru Maharaj sing Shri Rupa Manjari Pada.
Yes.
We sing that he is everything for us.
Right. Yes, that's right, and that's a very good point. You know, this is another significant point that, you know, I'm really sorry today's like we're not talking so I hope you don't mind.
Don't worry.
Okay,
It's fine.
we have a new visitor here, so today's kind of like a special day of.
I'm appreciating it.
Okay, cool.
But I understand it's kind of more like depth
Yeah, actually, normally it's a little more broad, but today in particular is a very specific day. So it's more like specific than usual. But thank you for your patience. Yes, I mean, thank you for reminding us of that, Ramananda Prabhu, because that we're remembering Srila Saraswati Thakur, you know, he specifically made that request of Srila Sridhar Maharaj at the time of his passing from this world, you know, to sing that song, Shri Rupa Manjari Pada. And so, you know, that current of Shri Rupa, you know, that was carried by Srila Sridhar Maharaj and passed to our Gurudev. So we feel extremely blessed, you know, to be a part of this particular line. And yes, we are aspiring Rupanugas, aspiring followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. But there is some, how can we say, you know, there's some line of service, right? And so, you know, Shri Radha Krishna, and then their foremost servitor is Lalita Saki, and then Rupa Manjari is serving under Lalita. She also has her own relationship. That is something Gurudev has mentioned, that Rupa Manjari, she also has her own direct relationship with Radha and Krishna. But in another level, she's also serving under Lalita. You know, in the line of service, we can say, then Lalita Saki, she is above Rupa. So it is, you know, it is part of the same service channel, you know, Rupa, Lalita, Radha, Krishna, like that. So it is the same service camp, you know. There's actually I'm trying to remember, there was a comment of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, under Rupa through Lalita towards Radharani. I think that was how Srila Sridhar Maharaj adjusted it. Under Rupa through Lalita towards Radharani, something like that. He made a comment like that. So there is, you know, and then, I mean, if we think about it more, in that serving environment, you know, there's infinite number of souls who are all intricately involved in the line of service. You know, it's not going to be like a very black and white thing. Oh, I'm just reporting to this person. Actually, in that plane, there is, Gurudev mentioned once, it's not like you give direct orders. You know, it all happens through as an intuitive process. It's all happening in an intuitive way. And he gave a very funny example. Actually, he made this comment on the disappearance day of Rupa Goswami. He gave a very funny example about turtles. How the turtles, they lay their eggs and then they leave their eggs. And they don't, because like some, like birds, they stay on top of their eggs, right? Like some animals, they, you know, who lay eggs, they like, you know, like chickens, you know, they, because there's like a bond between the mother and their fetus, right, and their child, and there's it's not just a physical process that's happening. There's a subtle connection between the mother and their child, and this is, you know, this is supporting the growth of the child. And so with turtles, they're not directly with their egg, but Gurudev said, like through a process of meditation, then they're supporting the growth. This was the example that he gave. Of course, I don't know what your average scientist would say about that. But this was Gurudev's version, that through a process of meditation, the mother turtle is supporting the growth of her child, and just through that meditation, the you know, that baby is growing, and the egg is growing. And I don't know if the egg grows, but anyway, the baby's growing in the egg. So in the same, this was Gurudev's example. And so in the same way, through a process of meditation and intuitive exchange, this is how the service flow is moving. It's not like like anyone has to tell anyone necessarily, do this or do that, or remind somebody, you forgot to do this or do that. But just, you know, natural service inspiration and this intuitive exchange is taking place. And really, if we think about it, like how many thousands of souls must be intricately involved with the service flow there. So it's not like it's going to be, I only report to Rupa, or I only report to Lalita. It's not going to work like that. You know, there's going to be many, it's a living thing, you know, just like we experience in a temple environment. Sometimes like very new people, that's their mentality. I only follow what so-and-so says. I only follow what Gurudev said, or did the manager say this? I won't hear from anyone else. Like more immature servitors, they have this mentality. But the more mature servitors, they're seeing things in more of a conscious way. They're seeing things more in terms of what really needs to be done. And they're ready to take orders or suggestions from anybody if they think it's helpful for the service. So, you know, it's a group effort. that sounds very lame. But it's a collective service offering that's taking place. So it's a combined service offering that's always taking place. Yeah. And I mean, like we saw Gurudev would ask advice from his disciples. Like, what do you think about this? You know, it was something very living for him. How do you do? Oh dear. You drag, huh?
Yeah, click
Okay.
and drag.
Okay. Was that a question?
We have Pandita Devi Dasi, our computer expert, on board.
No.
Oh, and Karen had a question. Sorry, Karen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. You were asking, how do we pray? Oh, you know, I just remembered another thing I wanted to say, which I forgot, which really like touched me. Something that Gurudev commented about Lalita Devi. Because, you know, as I said, you know, Radha Krishna Leela Vrindavan is very, you know, it's on the upper shelf and doesn't feel very accessible to us. But Gurudev made this one comment about Lalita, which was very encouraging. That he and also we hear about like how strict Lalita is and how particular she is about the service being perfect. So it's a little like intimidating and you know, not very encouraging. But then Gurudev made this one comment, and I think it's published in Divine Guidance. He said that Lalita Devi has a very broad mood, like something like Nityananda Prabhu. He compared her to Nityananda Prabhu. And as I recall, he also said that she gave attention to newcomers, that she liked to help newcomers, something like that. But definitely he compared her to Nityananda Prabhu and said she had a very broad and very generous and very merciful mood. So it's just a very wonderful, astonishing combination, you know, to be the most exclusive, the most refined, the most strict, but also to be so generous and magnanimous. Very, very encouraging, very hopeful to hear that. But Karen asked a question: how do we pray to Lalita Devi for the service of Radharani? I mean, at the moment we are seeing that our Gurudev is embodying everything. We cannot expect to have a direct relationship with any of these persons at present. But everything for us comes through Anudas, 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 you know. May we be the servant of the servant of the servants. there's one occasion that it was a comment of Gurudev's that surprised me. It was a talk he gave on the disappearance day of Gadadhar Pandit, and Gurudev commented, "We are praying to Gadadhar Pandit Goswami and it was something like to help us in our service to Guru Maharaj." That was the angle, and that surprised me actually, like how guru-centric he was. He's praying to Gadadhar to help him in his service to Guru Maharaj, like that. And it could have even been the other way around, right? Like it could have been, I'm praying to Guru Maharaj to give me a connection with Gadadhar, right? Like it could have been that angle. Or it could have been like, through Guru Maharaj's connection, I'm praying to Gadadhar to help me in my devotional life. But no, none of those. Like this very guru-centric approach that my everything is the service of my Guru Maharaj. And my prayer to Gadadhar is to help me in my service. And this is the type of chastity that we find in a real Rupa Nuga, actually. We don't sing this song, Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, but that's what's being expressed there. My everything is the service of Shri Rupa. My bhajan, my pujan, my mantram, everything culminates in the lotus feet of the servant, in the service of the lotus feet of Shri Rupa. And so Gurudev is seeing his Guru Maharaj like that, as a manifestation of Shri Rupa, as a manifestation of Shri Radha, and seeing that everything is there, everything is to be had there in the service of his Guru Maharaj. So this is the line, and this is also something that you'll particularly, Karen, I think, you're, I think you're somewhat like associated probably with other lineages as well. This is something you'll find quite distinctive about the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the Rupa Nugas in particular, that there is this very intense, very focused, there's this extreme focus on the service of the Ashaya Vigraha, on Shri Guru, that you don't see so much in other lines. It is very extreme. If we look at the prayer of Raghunath Das Goswami, Shabare Amrita Sindhu Mayai Katamjit Kalo Mayati Gamita Kila Sampratambi Tam Chet Kripam Mayi Vidasa Sinaiva Kimme Praner Virjena Cha Varuruba Karinapi. Here Raghunath is saying, I don't even want the service of Krishna if you aren't there, Shri Radha. Who is Krishna to me without you? What is the value of my life without you? What is the value of Vrindavan? What is even the value of Krishna if you are not there, if I don't have your mercy? So you'll find this is something that distinguishes us from other lineages, that there is very strong focus on the connection of the Ashaya Vigraha, on the connection of Shri Guru, who ultimately is represented by Radharani, more so than Krishna even. So everything, our connection to everything is always with and through our Guru Maharaj, our Gurudev. That makes everything real, meaningful, substantial, living. So try to take shelter of Shri Guru. That is my humble advice and suggestion. And we will get everything from that.
Didi, I believe Angela may have also had a question.
Okay, wonderful.
No, I was just saying hello. Thank you so much. I'm listening while I'm working, so I'm just happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, well, great to have you with us, Angela.
Thanks very much.
And I believe the cat who joined us, is this the cat from Australia?
Yes, she's in Italy. Well, welcome, Kat. Great to have you with us. We're kind of, maybe Kat got mixed up about the time. We're kind of finishing now, but anyway, happy you could be with us for a little bit. It's confusing with the time difference here, and it's an hour difference here in Italy. Okay, well, shall we adjourn for now?
Does anybody else have any questions or something they'd like to mention? I'd like this so much, I don't want it to stop. Sorry. Selfish.
I'm getting used to this big screen. Pandita suggested it, and I was like feeling kind of intimidated. But actually, it's so nice. You can see everybody like they're really in front of you. It's almost like life size. I'm looking at Chaitanya Mai, like almost like life size. So it's very nice.
Thank you so much, Vishakha Didi. Thank you, everybody.
Oh,
It was
thank
nice.
you all for your kindness. Your good company is keeping me alive, really. Okay, well, I'm going to be in Hungary next weekend, and hopefully there won't be any problem with the internet. It should be fine. So hopefully we can all meet next Monday. Okay.
Okay, next Monday, same time.
Yeah, we'll have time. Yeah.
I should mention it's 10 o'clock a.m. California time. So everyone can adjust to whatever that is.
And that'll
Pacific.
be 7 p.m. in Italy, and 7 p.m. in Hungary. Yeah, and 6 p.m. in
Ireland. In the Ireland time.
in Ireland also. Yeah.
Yeah. Chai.
Good. We're happy to have your sweet messages, Kat. And Karen also, thank you for joining us. Okay.
I also want to salute Pandita. Please send all love to your mom.
I will do. So lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you.
I need to feel star here. I'm just filling up, airspace here.
Yes.
Nourishing our hearts so much with her presence, her katha, her mood, everything, her love and appreciation for Srila Gurudev. So incredibly inspiring and nourishing. We hope she comes back soon. Then we can have the big screen again.
Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Was that a question or a comment? What
Yes, I just want to be clear, 10 a.m.
Oh, no, Karen's in Calcutta, so I think it will be around 10 p.m.
Oh. Yeah, 10:30. I think there's a half-hour time zone in India at somewhere around there.
Yes, Karen, I think that will be like 10 o'clock p.m. your time. We can double check that, but
it will be 10:30 India time.
Oh wow, that's late, man.
Yeah.
Oh, frozen. Yes, there's a half-hour time zone in India, somewhere around there.
Okay, Dandavat pranams to all of you.
Dhanavad. Jai Hare Krishna. Jai Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Vishakha.
Jai Vishakha Devi Dasi ki.
Jai.
Hey.
Jai Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.